Thank you. Thank you for that intro. My wife said she just wants to sit down, and if she has comments, she'll come up to the microphone, which I'm sure it'll be to correct me. So we'll see how many times that happens. But we put this presentation together and just wanted to give you a little background. My whole career, I think, can be summed up with relationships and values. And my wife has been my true business partner throughout that entire process. And the more that we've shared this with friends, the more I think I've come to realize how unique our relationship is. But I wanted to share some of the things that we've learned to hopefully, help you as you guys move forward, whether you're starting your own business or whether you end up running somebody else's business or whether you end up managing other people. I think having strong relationships and rooting your decisions based on values is extremely important. So just to begin, this is a little picture of our 6 kids here. So when my wife and I were dating, I met her here in Provo. I was in a BYU ward, and I told her, I said, look, if we get married, we're going to have 5 little boys in a row. I'm going to have my basketball team. So, I put my plan in place, and ended up making it happen. We just had our 6th, our little baby girl came in October, so she finally got her little cheerleader. So we're super excited about that. But yeah, just giving you a background on my business career, we started Property Solutions out of BYU. This was our BYU business plan in 2003. So we won the BYU business plan. We ended up entering a bunch of other competitions nationwide. We won those competitions, and that funding just kind of helped us and allowed us to bootstrap the company up until today. So we've never taken any outside venture capital. The company is recently rebranded to Entrada. I'll touch on that here in a little bit. So same company, same group of employees. And my new company is Homey, Homey.com. I'm a Homey, so I thought the name was perfect. It made sense for me to come into this space as well, and I'll touch on that in a second. Wanted to give a little background on myself really quick. I grew up in this house. My dad's a cowboy from Montana, and when he was building this house, missionaries came and taught him about the church. And of course, once he finished, he used our house as a billboard and painted on our house, the Book of Mormon is true. He wanted to, he has no fear. He doesn't care what other people think about him. He's a doer. He just gets stuff done. And, I think some of those qualities passed over to me. The interesting thing about this is the day that he painted on my house, my mother ended up leaving him. So she packed the bags, me and my sister put us in the car, we took off, and moved back to Colorado where we were from. So my mom, what I learned from her is she had to provide for us. She had to go to school. She went to the University of Phoenix at night. She was a secretary for a company called McDonnell Douglas that later merged with Boeing. She worked her way up to be one of the executives of HR. She's had a 30-year career at Boeing. So all of these experiences from her, I learned how to treat people from her being in HR. She shared hundreds of stories with me. And I think that kind of helped shape my life as well. This is a picture of my Montana family. We're Hicks out in Billings. I learned how to bale hay. I had to irrigate the fields from 10 years old. I hated it. 6 a.m. every morning, but I definitely learned hard work. This picture was taken on my mission, and they made sure to have the horse represent me while I was gone. So, an accurate depiction probably. When I got home, I ran for student body president at Rick's. I didn't have any fear. I didn't have any friends either. I thought, hey, I'm just going to do this. Why not? I thought I had a pretty good campaign. HannahFromMontana.com. I built a website. Had I gotten rid of the from, I might have been able to sell that domain to Disney a few years later. I thought my slogan was really good. Hannah's the manna. I passed out little pieces of bread with my picture on it. I didn't get too many votes from that, but anyhow, yeah, MC Hammer was a hero of mine, so that was kind of on my campaign. So I ran the first year and came in 4th place out of 8 people, and I thought that was wonderful. I didn't even think I'd be able to, get that many votes. Next year I ran again, so I ran back to back with my slogan, "Too legit to quit," keeping the Hammer theme. And then I got accepted to BYU. I came here, but President Hinckley made the announcement to make it a 4-year university. So I turned around and I finished my schooling at BYU, Idaho. And really what I was most excited about was I could run again a 3rd time. So I did that more for fun and lost terribly the third time as well. So that's my claim to fame. I ran for 3 years in a row and lost all 3 years. But what I learned from this, really more than anything, is I made so many friends. I made lifelong relationships. And I'm really happy that I was as social as I was. I think I had a little too much energy, doing that many years in a row. But I definitely wanted to help you guys understand that this time at school, the people that are around you, if you don't know the people sitting next to you after this class, introduce yourselves. These relationships can go so far for you. And not just to use the people, but you can build really good friendships that will be long lasting. And that's what I learned from this. Another thing, I grew up, my parents put me in school a year early. So I was always a small kid. I always made the basketball team. I was the 12th man to make it until my senior year. I got cut. But that put a little chip on my shoulder. So when I came here to BYU, I had to get my intramural t-shirt. And we ended up winning Division I championship 2 years in a row. And yeah, I was 30 years old in this picture, but I got it. That's what matters, okay? That's more important to me than an honorary degree from BYU. I got my intramural t-shirt. I know. Are there any other hoop dreamers here in the audience? It can happen to you too. It can happen to you too. So keep trying. 30 years old. So again, relationships and values, I'll kind of summarize this as we go, but this is a little background for me. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to chime in. Entrada, I'll give you background on Entrada. We had a lot of success there, and it's still growing. Things are going exceptionally well. So we built accounting software right when we first started. We wanted to build accounting software for big apartment communities. So Glenwood, Centennial, those were like two of our first clients, if any of you guys live at Glenwood or Centennial Apartments. And we wanted to collect rent online. We wanted to make marketing websites. We wanted to do renter's insurance. We had all these tools that kind of surrounded accounting software. We got into the space and realized there were plenty of other competitors doing accounting software. So we pivoted just to do apartment websites and just to collect rent online. And we became the biggest in the industry in those two areas. We didn't pay ourselves a lot of money, so we took that extra money and we kept building out other tools, all the way to where we built out our accounting software again, to where now we're a one-stop shop and we have all of those solutions. So our accounting software was called Entrada, and that was just released a couple years ago. So we wanted to rebrand ourselves to the industry, letting our industry know that we are an accounting enterprise software solution. So that's the truth behind Entrada. Some of you guys have seen the billboards and it says, why we change names. That's more for recruiting purposes here. Most of our clients are outside of the state. But at Entrada, I'm telling you, everybody we hired, they became wonderful friends, lifelong friends. I ended up leaving the company about a year ago. I'll touch on that here in a little bit as well. But giving you a background, we bootstrapped it to $100 million in revenue. In recurring revenue, we have over 1,500 employees. We process over $2 billion a month in rent transactions, so we're the largest rent collection company in the nation. We have about 20,000 plus properties using our software and 11 million residents. So if you guys have paid rent online, most likely you've used our software at one time or another. So that's a little background on Entrada. Yeah. Great. Yeah, so bootstrapped versus getting funding from VCs. The difference is we just took the money that was coming in from our clients, saved it, and any excess, instead of, again, paying ourselves more or buying a bigger office space or doing these different things, we just took that money and reinvested in technology. So we kept just adding more and more tools as we grew. And so that's what we did versus taking venture capital money and just having other people's money allow us to build a company. So there's definitely pros and cons, and there's things that, looking back, I probably would have done different. But that's what we ended up doing at the company. It allows you to have full ownership of the company. You take VC money, you have to give away 5, 10, 50% of the company in order to get that money to come in. So you have options as you go to start your company. Thank you. I wanted to make a comparison, just that previous slide. A lot of people when you start companies and you have success, it's all about you. And the thing is, with 1,500 employees, you have people telling you how awesome you are all day long. And it can easily go to your head, and a lot of people, it does go to their head. And the way I look at it is everybody we've ever had, when we first started our company, we wouldn't have even got off the ground had we not had Carlos Aponte. He was our first sales guy. He sold vaporware. I was just explaining, we had flip charts. That's what we used to sell our software because it wasn't even built yet. Our client services team that kept those clients around after they signed on with us, we couldn't have even made it happen without them. And I like to use Disney analogies because I have 6 kids and I've watched this about 3,500 times. But this screenshot right here, this was a time when Lightning McQueen, the arrogant race car, was being interviewed, and one of his guys came in front of him in the shot, and he said, "Hey, get out of the way! You're blocking this one-man show." And the guy, who's working for him says, "One-man show? I'm out of here." And he just dismisses him in public and is like, "Yeah, where am I ever going to find someone to fill me up with gas? Good luck, Chuck." And my wife and I can quote every line of the movie, by the way. But the way that he treated people, I think, this is what can happen to all of us. And I've seen this so much, even here in our culture here in this valley. And so my wife and I, in talking about this, I thought that this could be very beneficial to share this with you. But if you think, later in the show, he gets a change of heart and realizes that people matter, that relationships matter. And if you think about this movie, who ends up winning at the end? Anybody know who wins cars at the end? Chick Hicks. Chick Hicks, he was the other arrogant guy. He won at the end only because Lightning stopped at the finish line to go help another racer finish. And I mean, if this movie, it just shows this, the guy won the prize. He probably ended up being extremely wealthy, but everybody booed him. Nobody even cared for him. And it's like, if you treat people that way, you're going to end up with a ton of money, or you could, but 0 friends. And I think there were a lot of lessons. I didn't really learn a lot of these lessons till about the 2500 time of watching this show. But there's other things you can do. I think that if you treat people well, you can actually still win and still be financially successful, but still have great relationships in the end. And I was thinking of some of the things that we did at my last company. When we hired somebody, we set expectations and we asked them, we said, "What do you want to do? How long are you planning on staying with us? What are your goals?" And, we thought about people that, are going into sales, and they say, "Yeah, I want to be a sales manager eventually." And so what we would tell them is we would say, "Look, we want to help you be a sales manager. It may be a few years before you maybe qualify and are ready to be a sales manager. But at that time, if we don't have a role within the company, we'll help you become a sales manager with a different company outside of ours." And by doing that and having those type of conversations, those people immediately had trust, and they realized that you were wanting to help them succeed more than you were wanting to pad your own pocket and force them to stay with you. So that there's definitely, there's benefits on both sides of that. So for that employee, they might take you up on that offer. They might leave your company, and you took all that time to train them. But again, if they worked hard for you for the first year or two or however long they were there, you want to reward them. You want to be a reference for them and help them find that other gig. And if that other gig, if they thought the grass was greener somewhere else, but they remember how kind you were, they'll come back. And I've seen that experience happen several times. I've had several of our people leave and take me up on being a reference, but then they've come back after a little bit of time, or even after a longer period of time, and just said, "I loved working with you guys. I'd love to come back." Other instances, if somebody wants to be a VP of product eventually, again, the same thing can happen. You might already have somebody as your VP of product, and they might be there for a long time, so you might say, you might not get that job here, but I'll help you. If you commit to working with us and working hard, I can help you get there. So these are some examples, I think, of how you can win, but still have good relationships and treat people well and actually care about them. And I think of people even still at Entrada that that are the people that are making it happen, almost in spite of us founders, in spite of us that might have these growing egos. There's people that come in and shift the company and make it happen for you. And so I think that's an important lesson that I definitely, have gleaned additional insight from watching Cars. But yeah, that's definitely what I wanted to share. There's other business outcomes I wanted to share. If you focus on employee happiness, there's some statistics I wanted to read with you. If you focus on employee happiness, according to the Harvard Business Review, you can get 300% more innovation at your company. If you focus on people's happiness, you can get 43% more productivity, according to the Hay Group. 37% increase in sales. 51% lower turnover, 66% lower sick leave. So again, these are benefits to you, to being a very likable and having those great relationships with your people and actually truly caring about them. You can actually have a more successful business. And for some reason, it's the opposite in most situations, in most companies, in most cultures. One other thing I wanted to share with you guys, again, sticking with the Disney theme, Finding Nemo, again, you can have as good of relationships as you want at a company, and let's say your sales team's out there just doing their thing and they're happy. Your development team's programming software, they're doing their thing and they're happy. But if you're not working together, you still might not be succeeding. And thinking of Finding Nemo, there was a whole team of people that helped Nemo and his dad reconnect. And in this scene, Dory was being caught in the fish net and being pulled up. And so Nemo and his father went and told all the other fish to swim down. And it was the power of all of them going the same direction that allowed them to accomplish their goal and save themselves, save Dory. And this, we actually use this analogy quite a bit at my last company, trying to figure out how we could swim together, how we could all go the same direction. And there's some really, really cool things that you can put in place to help solidify you going in the right direction. And for us, that was establishing values that your decisions were based off of. And I'll touch on that here briefly. So at our company, 7 years into our company, we were just hiring anybody we thought was smart and cool. But as you're getting to 1,800 employees like we are now, it's hard to keep that same culture. And it's hard to find people that are cultural fits that are going to swim together with you. So we took a little retreat and we figured out what was working for us as a company in terms of our value and our culture and what wasn't working for us. So we had a lot of fun. So our value of fun, we wanted to rename all these values to be something more memorable. Our value of fun, business in the front, party in the back, that was our value name. Was creating legendary tales of adventure, having a blast. We rocked that. That was something that we were doing well at. But one of the things we weren't doing well at was communication. We weren't all swimming together as different departments. Departments weren't talking together. So we wanted to improve in communication and swim together that direction. So, some of these we started calling Talk to Me Goose TTMG. We just abbreviated it. So we were able to call each other out based on values that we agreed upon as a company. And this wasn't just, like kumbaya posters on the wall that were just pretty and made us look good. We actually incorporated these into new hire trainings. We gave them when we gave our sales pitch to our clients, to potential clients, we told them about our values and who we were and what we stood for. And I'll kind of go through these, like the value of integrity is be the real deal. The value of taking care of each other, being excellent to each other. We're big Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure fans. I mentioned the value of fun, be the Joneses. We didn't want to keep up with the Joneses, keep up with our competitors. We wanted to be the Joneses, our value of innovation, and then communication. So again, we incorporated them in our company meetings. So instead of giving out Employee of the Month, we gave Team Member of the Months that were going above and beyond in the specific value. So we had value awards. So we tried just to infuse it as much as possible, and that was 7 years into the company. And by doing that, it definitely helped shape our culture. Our hiring process was built around our values, so we would ask specific questions. How were you innovative at your last company? How did you create a legendary tale of adventure at your last company? Or how were you fun? we wanted to find cultural fits as well, and that really helped push the company to swim together to be more successful. So that, along with telling our clients that we're the real deal. You can trust us. We have integrity. We're not going to sell you a bill of goods. We're going to come through on our promises. And just incorporating this in our sales process as well, a lot of companies, we didn't even get to what we were selling, and they were like, whatever it is, I want to be part of what you're doing because I'm getting nickel and dimed by my current software vendors. So this was super beneficial for us. We ended up using this even in instances when we had to part ways with employees. We wanted to keep those relationships solid. So if we knew somebody was going to be terminated at the company, we would ask, did you provide them any communication? Did they see this coming, or is this totally out of the blue? Did you talk to me, Goose, to that employee? And I can remember one instance where we let somebody go, and I asked these questions. I said, did we follow our own values and our own protocol? And one of my managers said, no, you know what? I totally didn't. I dropped the ball there. So we brought that employee back, and we gave them a performance plan, and we said, look, we messed up. We want to give you another shot. We really like you. We gave them another shot, and they're one of our top producing employees today. And again, living and sticking to your values is a hard thing to do, but having your decisions rooted and based on values that, one, we were transparent with, so we were held accountable by our clients and our employees, but everybody held each other accountable, and that was super important. So whatever careers you go into, whatever companies you go into, realize that one, relationships matter, but having a core set of values that you stick to and you don't waver from is just as important. Have anybody seen our double-decker bus around the area? We bought 2 of these not too long ago, but this kind of was tied to our branding of Legendary Tales of Adventure. We do lunch trips, a lot of different things on these double-decker buses. We've had a blast. This was in a magazine kind of highlighting all the different things that we do as a company. We were awarded best company in Utah County for culture a few years back. And this, I put this here just to kind of remind me of the fun that I had at the company and the relationships that I had. These people, I'm telling you, I know things about each individual person, and the way that we went about this as a company is at these company meetings, we would also have spotlights on individuals to really get to know them. And as you grow, it's really hard to get to know and keep up with everybody. And about a year ago to this day, I was talking with my wife, and we just felt like it was time for me to move on. And with all these relationships and all this cool things that we had going, I hadn't sold any shares from the company, and I just thought, are we just going to drop our income? We're making plenty of money. Things are going really well for us. But a year ago, I just felt like it was time for me to step away, and I didn't really want that to be the case. I slept on it the next day. The next day, I felt even stronger that I needed to make that decision. This was a Wednesday night. And then I slept on it again, and Friday I even felt strong enough to go and just tell my partners, hey, this is what I got to do. It's my time. And, I felt so good about it that I wasn't necessarily scared, but I had no idea what I wanted to do next or what I was going to do next or how we were going to provide for our 6 kids, if we were going to have insurance coverage. Did I need to sell some shares to the company? How would I even go about doing that at a private company? A lot of these questions popped into my mind, and so we just moved forward. We took that again, another kind of step into the dark, and wondered what was going to happen. And what ended up happening, I told my partners that Friday. I sent an email out to all my clients and my employees over the weekend, and I just got flooded with wonderful emails and comments back that definitely gave me additional courage to continue to go down that path. I decided to stay another month and help somebody transition for me. while I was still kind of thinking about what was next. Had no clue. Last day of work, my partners threw a little going away party for me. And that afternoon, my outside legal counsel who was preparing my exit paperwork came to me and pitched me on this idea of Homey. The very last day of work, again, I didn't know what was going to happen next. And he brought with him one of his previous friends, Mike Peregrina. He was a VC from Mercado Partners. And they just told me about this new opportunity. They said, Johnny, this is real estate software. You've been doing real estate software. So it was exciting to be wanted and to have an offer come my way. But I told them, look, it's not quite time for me to make a decision right away. I want to think about it a little bit more. So my wife and I took some time, took about 2 months off to really think this through. And between that time that I left the company and the time that I ended up agreeing to move forward with Homey, I had past employees that I had terminated, that I had parted ways with, that reached back out to me and said, hey, you ought to come work over here, or hey, I heard about this idea. I had all these different people that I cared about now returning the favor. And it was mind-blowing to me. This was all I knew out of college, so I was a little nervous. I was thinking, what am I going to do now? And I had nothing lined up. So these relationships ended up coming back and really helping. And it was, I want to touch on that a little bit more, and I'll come back to a couple of those relationships. But Homey as a company, it was very similar to Property Solutions. We did software for big apartment communities. Homey happens to be in the real estate space where the U.S. economy hinges on the housing market. So the opportunity size is just absolutely massive. And as was mentioned here to begin, we're automating the whole home buying and selling process. So a lot of my old relationships from my clients that built apartments, they're now home builders as well. So that benefited me. So focusing on relationships with employees wasn't my only thing. I focused on relationships with clients as well, and that actually really benefited as I move forward. The thing about this is nobody has ever automated this process in the 20-year history of the internet. And it's been the same for the last 70 years, that realtors come in, they help you find a home, and kind of hold your hand and introduce you to all the different people. So what we're doing is we're just removing that middleman, and you're able to then connect to the title escrow, appraisers, inspectors, everybody that you need to work with. So it's a really exciting time for us right now. We the name Homey, where that comes from, for home tours, if you're in class, for example, and someone's in front of your home, they're wanting a tour, your friends and family in the area could be your home tour experts or your homies. So we're building an app to immediately ping everybody in the neighborhood that you've assigned to open up your door, if you want anybody to open up your door while you're gone and let people in. So there's that immediate gratification of coming in and taking the tour. There's a lot of other processes we've automated throughout, but that's a little background on what Homey's doing. And we're in a quiet period right now with our funding. We just signed term sheets last week, so we'll be doing a big press release here in about a month, letting everybody know kind of what's come together and what companies are backing us. But things definitely are coming together there. And with everything, all these relationships that I've been able to create, my original co-founder of Property Solutions, he was only with us for our first 3 years. He later went to run development at Domo and just did an exceptional job there. I stayed good friends with him. As soon as Matt and Mike approached me, he was the first guy I reached out to. And through just connections here, and again, trying to take care of coworkers and do what's right, I had a couple other people reach out that I had no idea who they were. Dan Might, he's our VP of Operations. He opened up Baltimore and DC for Uber. Stanford MBA, brilliant guy. He asked to be on the team kind of out of the blue. Dave Bascom, another random connection. He was the CEO and founder of SEO.com. He's our VP of Marketing. So we've built a team to really take on just such a massive industry. And, as I was showing you guys before, that the Cars example of, I'm the man, or it's a one-man show, I'm telling you, like, hire people smarter than you. And for me, that's pretty easy. But I feel like this, you can either keep a whole company to yourself and keep 100% of the equity, 100% of nothing if it doesn't end up going anywhere, or you could have, a smaller portion of something really big. And that's the decision we've decided to go. So this route, we are doing venture capital versus being bootstrapped. So that gives you a little background on our team and what we've done at Homey. Again, going back to the values, we wanted to have fun, so we named our values pretty fun names, sticking to the Homey theme. But doing this from the beginning versus doing it 7 years in has made such a huge difference. Everybody that we work with, there's no drama. Everybody really gets along with each other. We've hired based on culture more than anything else. And I'll touch on a couple of our values here. YOLO, we put 2 L's in there because we couldn't decide here. You only live once. We're also launching our software in multiple cities over the next several years, so you only launch, you only live once. So that's our value of just, innovation, giving it all you have. Homey's got your back. This more talks about the company having employees back. We want to put our employees first. And I saw huge value in that at Property Solutions Entrada. If you take care of your employees, they'll take care of your clients, who will take care of your investors. They'll continue to pay money. They'll continue to buy new products. So that was a huge value for us we wanted to put in place. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's a dumb question. If you guys get rid of the middleman, how do you make any money?
So every time somebody goes to buy a home, they have to get a loan. You need an inspection. We recommend an inspection, appraisal, title escrow. So there's all these different partners out there that currently pay for leads to all these different companies. And we basically have partnered with every loan company here in Utah. So you still have your choice at whatever loan company you want. But if you come through us, we make money from the loan companies.
Basically like a real estate marketplace, and they're all paying you.
Absolutely.
Access to everybody.
Yep. We're just a marketplace. So it's still for sale by owner, and you still buy homes on your own. But we're the marketplace that just let you touch and get all the different services you need. Mo money, mo problems, this one. At the last company, we always wanted to hire more people. And we wanted to check ourselves to make sure that we weren't just spending money frivolously. And especially with venture capital money, we want to make sure to stretch every dollar that we have. And we don't want the business to be about the biggest valuation company or just focusing on the dollar. We want to focus on helping our clients save money, helping our clients with the best experience. And then Home Sweet Homey, this is basically just any business that you come from, anywhere you come from, you can take what you've learned and bring it to us, and we'd love to implement it. So it's basically our value just of changing values and continuing to innovate and make it a great place to work. So I would definitely recommend, having, a very strong set of core personal values beyond just what you might do at a company. And this, we started this with just 4 employees, and it can definitely help scale your business to, an exponential number of employees. So this is where I think my wife will definitely be able to chime in here.
Can I scoot close to this?
Yeah.
This is where I have the biggest say. And I have to say, it was not easy agreeing to him starting a company called Homey. Okay. Yeah, that took a little bit of selling. I think his best salesman skills came in that. But one thing with that I don't think he stressed enough is he left that company within 3 days, and we really had no idea what we were going to do next. And I understand that this is a bunch of different age ranges in this class, a bunch of different majors. But at some point, you guys are all going to be moving from place to place. And I think we all need to get used to this idea of change. And one thing that, you can stand up, stay standing up. One thing
Yes, ma'am.
that was great with this is that because of the values and the relationships, it took a lot of fear out of all of this. And starting a family versus starting a business, this is something that Johnny and I talked about all the time. He had already started Property Solutions when he and I had met. He was 3 years into it. And when we got married, we realized starting a family was the exact same kind of venture. A lot of risk. So what?
Yeah, just come up here.
Yeah, a lot of fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown with his business. Johnny actually lived in a closet when I met him. He rented out his bedroom, and that was a gigantic risk for me to marry somebody living in a closet. And I'll start it when? I'll start having kids when? And for Johnny and I, it was, well, we're married. We've already agreed to be in this for the long haul, so I may as well start having kids right now. And that's what I wanted to do. And as his wife and his partner, I got to run the family side of things from home. That was my choice, to be at home. Funding. With whichever business you have, you'll have to decide, do I want to do this myself, save or get venture capital money? I think in family, you have to decide, are Johnny and I going to make some sacrifices? Do I have to move into that closet with him? Or are we going to let my parents, fund our family? Luckily, Johnny had proven his ability to make some money, so we could do this ourselves. But the big risk, the big reward. With Property Solutions and Trata, Johnny spent so much of his time there. But what was his reward day to day? He came home, and I'd like to think, and you can correct me, that his reward was coming home to me and to our kids. Our family was this big risk. Every pregnancy was a risk. We didn't know if it was going to result in a healthy baby or a special needs baby. Or there was a lot of risk at work and a lot of risk at home. There was a lot of reward at work, but when he came home, that reward was a lot longer lasting. Dividing responsibilities, and I'm taking over all these. Johnny had planned on talking about this, but whatever. Dividing responsibilities. I looked at his partnerships at work. He had 2 main partners, and each one had a set role, but sometimes they overlapped in different roles. Johnny took over on the sales, the majority of the sales and the client relationships. Somebody else was over marketing and the business partnerships, another one's over development. But they all gave each other input. So at home, I did not like this idea of that he was the moneymaker, I was the homemaker. I wanted a lot of overlap. I really hate doing dishes. So I needed him to come home and help me out there, and in turn, I could help him and I could be a sounding board for him. So Johnny and I, right from the beginning, created, it's actually less of a dividing of responsibilities, more of overlapping. He has 2 full-time jobs. I have 1 really long full-time job. And as we worked together with all of this, our jobs kind of came together. I loved that he would come home and tell me about sales guys, and so-and-so's really distracted, and I don't know, how he's feeling, and I could say, well, he is a BYU student, and he is dating, so that's probably why he's distracted. And I do know that they just went through a really hard time with his wife in the hospital, so that's probably why, he's overstressed or overworked. And between the 2 of us, we could get this full picture of the people he worked with. And then at home, with our kids, it was a lot of the same thing. Here's what I'm doing all day. This is what the kids are doing. Here's my concerns with their schooling. And then Johnny could say, well, I bet the teachers are stressed about this. between the two of us, we could get a great handle on both of these worlds, and we could bring them together. Culture and values, as much as he put into culture at his companies, I would really like to have the same kind of culture at home. I don't want a fear-based culture. I would like fun to be something that our boys get out of it. And values, if we don't have set values, then our children aren't going to have them either.
Yeah, and I think just, I mean, as you can hear from her, she asked every question about what I did during the day. And so I'd come home and tell her, again, she was interested in what I did, and I'm interested in what she does. And I think that's what's been really unique about this. But for my businesses, she's helped tremendously, like our values and culture. She was the idea behind it. And having that feminine perspective on all these different roles and situations with other employees, it was definitely helpful.
Okay. Yeah.
Time to wrap the rest of this.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.